Happy weekend to one and all, and welcome to a live episode 537. What's going on, you guys? Good to see you. Great to be here. We have a lot to talk about, and I think today's going to be a really fun live episode. Very casual. I think we're going to talk about more wrestling news than anything else. We will discuss some of the current storylines in WWE, but as we all know, those are a complete big pile of shit right now, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. So we're going to talk about other things in this episode and have a good time. I just want to make sure I'm up and looking good and sounding good, and I want to say hi to everybody here in the chat, and then I'm going to start diving into what we're going to get into. All right, we're looking good there. Everything's checking out. We're up and running, ready to rock and roll. We're going to shoot the shit a little bit here before I dive in, because I want to let you guys know what you can expect in this episode, and I also want to give you a little channel update, schedule update, things like that. Hello to everybody down here in the chat. I will be spending some time at the end of this episode to do some rapid fire questions. So unlike my live streams where I'm pretty much interacting with the chat the entire time, I still have some notes, and I have a run sheet, and I have things I want to discuss. So, you know, the chat interaction will not be as intense as it normally is, but at the end, stay tuned. I'll be answering a whole bunch of questions. Until then, I want to say hello to How Wheezy and Die Hard and Zombie Fighter and Down Ice and AJ and Alex and Costanza and Kawhi and Chris. And who else is in here? Elias and everybody else. Rude Killer. I'm not sure what kind of audience we're going to have. Generally, when I do these weekend streams, we have, I don't know, 100, maybe 200 people in here. And I've got a whole bunch of notes of stuff that we need to discuss. And some of it is really great, and some of it is not so much. And I think this episode is primarily going to be focused around a lot of complaining, especially when it comes to WWE. I am pretty much on everybody's side. I'm jumping on this. This shit is making me want to throw up bandwagon too. And I'm pretty much disgusted with everything I'm seeing from WWE right now. We're going to talk a lot about this bullshit wild card rule. Wild card rule, WCR. How about WTF? This is what they came up with. You know, they're when they hit the panic button, wild card rule. Okay, let's just say we can take a few guys from here and there, and basically let's just make a rule for something that we are already doing. Because on any given week, anybody can jump from either show. Doesn't matter. They don't need a wild card rule to make this happen. So it was probably one of the most ridiculous ratings ploys and biggest failures I've ever seen, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. We're also going to talk about, most of the stuff is written there on the screen. The topics we're going to discuss. We'll get into Lars Sullivan and some of those old message board posts coming back to haunt him again. We already dealt with this, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago. So that's kind of back in the news. All Elite Wrestling has got a big pay-per-view in a couple of weeks, Double or Nothing, 2 weeks from today. And I will be live reacting to that in a couple of weeks, and I'll give you guys more info on that. And apparently All Elite Wrestling has a TV deal as well, set with Ted Turner, and they're going to air on TNT. That is not made official yet. I think maybe next week we'll get the word on that, but we'll talk about that, as well as Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan becoming the new tag team champions. We'll preview Money in the Bank, and then, of course, the big Tom McGee and Bret Hart news that's going around. They're doing StarCast to talk about their infamous lost match. And now WWE, this coming Monday, is airing a documentary and showing the match ahead of the StarCast event, which I find humorous more than anything else. Petty, yes, but humorous nonetheless. So we'll talk about that whole situation. And before we get into that, though, just a quick channel update. As you can see, I am live again. I let you guys know in my past couple of videos that my next few episodes for the next several weeks are going to be live episodes, because I need to take a break so I can handle some things behind the scenes. Big channel overhaul currently going on right now. I'd say you're only a couple of weeks left of this surrounding, of this environment. I'm about to buy a new desk and change everything up and do a new background and try to make the whole thing look a lot better. So that's coming real soon. I've got a new computer on the way. I've got new editing software. I got a brand new camera. I am really going to basically polish up my channel and try to give it a more refined look and try to make my videos more engaging. And I've been working on some of that behind the scenes. We've been watching WWE right now, and we see how shitty things are. So if there's ever a time for me to kind of break away from my normal routine to work on some shit behind the scenes, now's the time. And I want to basically change a lot of things. I want to change how I present my content to you as well. I want to be able to produce better quality content and more of it, while at the same time trying to spend a little bit less time doing it. I know that's weird. You know, have you ever seen the Seinfeld episode where Kramer and Newman want to cash in the deposit bottles, and they're crunching the numbers with the calculators, trying to figure out how they can drive these cans and bottles and cash them in for 5 cents and make money doing it. I'm doing the same thing with the channel to try to figure out how I can give you guys more stuff, but not break my back, you know, spending hours on end doing this stuff. And editing podcasts and shit like that is very time consuming. And I just want to get a little bit better at that, try to get a little bit better of doing things in one take and not taking so long to edit stuff. And I think you're going to see a lot more of me on camera. My podcasts are going to go back to normal pretty much, but I'm going to basically change how I'm presenting them to you. And instead of just a blank screen with still images, you're actually going to get me on camera with some B-roll in between. Little things like that I'm trying to polish up. Probably some new overlays. I got a couple of new logos in the works, and you know, all sorts of just cosmetic stuff as well that I'm working on. And I think you guys are really going to like it, but it's going to be kind of a slow process. It's not going to be bam overnight. This is going to be taking part all throughout the summer, and by the time we get to the end of the summer, I think you're going to like the look of the new channel. And I want to avoid things like copyright and shit like that. I got hit with a couple of videos this week. My top 10 WrestleManias video that I did during WrestleMania week got copyrighted, so I took that down. And then my Survivor Series 1995 review also got taken down. So no big deal. I'll clean up that video footage and do re-uploads for those. But that's the type of stuff when I do retro pay-per-view reviews and things like that, subjects that I very much enjoy talking about. I think in order for the channel to survive and continue to thrive and for the videos to be more engaging, I want to kind of be a little bit more on camera. So all that stuff is in the works, and that's why I have all new equipment coming that will make my content look as absolutely good as possible. And that's what I'm working on behind the scenes, along with other personal life stuff, who, if you guys follow me on social media, you know what's going on with me. All that stuff is going on right now, so that's why I've decided for the next couple of months is just to do live streams for now while I work on all the stuff behind the scenes. That way I'm not taking a break. That way I'm not suffering from YouTube burnout and I just disappear for a while. You're still seeing me 2 times a week, maybe even 3 times a week. I'm throwing mic drops at you, and in the next week or so I'll have a couple of re-uploads, some new videos. And shout out to Joey G. I don't know if you are in the chat or not, but he is responsible for the new pay-per-view review. It's a donation video that I have done. I just didn't want to upload it today side by side with this one, so that'll probably come, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday. I'll upload that to you guys, and it's a retro Survivor Series review. So there are still some stuff and some videos coming to the channel. That's where we stand right now with everything that's going on here. Just wanted to hit you with an update on that. Not even quite 100 people in the chat yet, which is cool. We're going to get into the news, get into the wrestling stuff. If you could do me a favor, also hit me with a thumbs up. Let's get these thumbs up as high as we can. I would really, really appreciate it. And then we will dive headfirst into bitching about the WWE, because believe me, I'm ready to do it. I am going to peek down here at the chat. I think in between topics here and in between subjects, I'll go down here and say hello to any more people and see if there's anything I need to answer, like a super chat. If there is a super chat, I will answer that as soon as I have a pause in what I'm talking about. Rude Killer, thank you for the buck. Good to see you in here, Dustin as well, and Nick, and all y'all, and Die Hard. I'm reading David's comment about the Seinfeld episode. That's funny. Yeah, it's kind of like that. I just picture myself, you know, on a calculator trying to figure out, okay, how can I do more videos and how can I spend less time doing it? And that's kind of what I'm trying to work out behind the scenes. So rest assured that I'm working hard and I'm trying to present you guys with some nice looking stuff starting this summer. I'm going to go into my notes now. We're going to start talking about what we're going to get into. I don't know if I should start talking about the news first or if we should start shitting on WWE's Wild Card rule. I think everybody is sick and tired of hearing about that. I'm coming up here very late. It's Saturday today, so we've had all week long to tweet our frustration and watch YouTube videos about the frustration with the horrible booking in WWE currently and this silly-ass Wild Card rule. So let's just put that on the back burner for a second. We will collectively take a big steam and dump on that in just a minute. Let's start off with some All Elite Wrestling news, because Double or Nothing is coming up here in just a couple of weeks. And ironically enough, I was looking last night. I'm like, you know what? I better actually get on the ball here and figure out how I watch this thing. And I'm not even sure if they know yet. I know it's on pay-per-view here in the United States. You can order it probably through your cable company. But I don't want to do that. I want to stream it right here where I'm sitting so I can react to it. And I don't know how I'm supposed to watch Double or Nothing yet. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I will figure that out. I know there is a streaming service they're using for fans in the UK, so they can watch it pretty much anywhere. If any of you guys have any of this info for me, hit me up with it, because I think Cody Rhodes even tweeted out like yesterday that they're still finalizing some details for how people can watch it in the US, and that blows my mind. I'm just flabbergasted by that. How come they don't have the shit figured out yet? But either way, I'm sure I will figure out a way to watch it, and my plan is to be off on the 25th to watch Double or Nothing, and I'm excited. And I think a lot of people, when you combine the excitement of All Elite Wrestling's launch with the frustration of all of us with what's going on in WWE currently, this is one of the most exciting times in wrestling, because we're finally now getting some competition. And we might be getting that competition really soon, as soon as this fall, because All Elite Wrestling apparently, reportedly by a lot of credible sources on the interwebs, that they have a TV deal reached with Ted Turner to air their product on TNT, where Nitro used to air. Holy shit. That's awesome. That is awesome. I mean, their only hope for survival and to be true competition to WWE was to get a TV deal anyway. So they got it without even having their first show yet. Awesome. So that's really exciting, in the sense that now it's just, the more competition, the better. I just want WWE to have some pressure on them to do better, because we know WWE can give us great shit when they want to. They just have chose not to for a very long time now. And now, for the first time in a long time, I mean, if you count TNA, but I really don't, WWE, they've got some competition, and the fans, I think, are starting to be over WWE, sick of their copy and paste bullshit. They want something fresh. They want something new, and All Elite Wrestling has a chance here, provided they start out on the right foot. Double or Nothing is a huge success, which I'm sure it will be. They've got a chance to at least make some waves, in wrestling, and I'm happy as hell for their TV deal, and I wish them all the luck in the world. Now, with that being said, I will not take it as far as, by the way, Tommy, sorry to interrupt myself, though. As far as it being on Fight TV, I looked on Fight TV. They're playing all the StarCast stuff, but I didn't see an option to buy Double or Nothing. That's just what I saw last night. And let me know if I'm stupid. I might be. But right now, I still don't have a clue how to order or how to stream Double or Nothing. Besides pay-per-view, I'm trying to figure out another way to watch it. And I don't mind paying for it, of course. I will pay full price. I would just rather stream it if I could. But I'm not one of those over-the-top people with All Elite Wrestling. I think the fans need to kind of just pump their brakes a little bit. I know everybody's very excited. I know everybody's up the ass of WWE, because we are watching a whole bunch of shit right now on Monday Night Raw. I mean, the last couple of weeks have been a couple of the worst Monday Night Raws I think we've ever seen. And think about this. Last Monday Night's Raw had a WWE title match in the main event. And still, for the most part, I would say 95% of the audience took a dump on last week's Monday Night Raw. What does that tell you? And it's not like your WWE title match was with two people that the fans don't care about. It was with Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan. Two people that the fans probably love more than anybody else on the fucking roster. Beats the hell out of Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, doesn't it? And still, we look on that Raw as being horseshit. Because WWE is just, it's like they're on crack. They're like in a panic mode, or a combination of being in panic mode and then being on like crack or meth, and they're just coming up with random shit that just makes no damn sense. And I think the fans can sense it. And even when they put wrestlers who we like in the ring together with a title on the line, the fans see through it and be like, look, you got to do a lot more than this if you expect to kind of, change what we've been used to seeing. Right now the fans are just not interested. You've got to do better. And last Monday night was just a complete failure to do that. And so those two things, with WWE having all of these problems and AEW now on the rise and they're bubbling and the fans are all excited about it, raging, rock hard erections for this company that hasn't even had its own first show yet, hasn't even had its very first show. And we're ready to crown them kings of wrestling, and WWE is going to go out of business. That's kind of where I draw the line with the fans. I'm as excited as everybody is for All Elite Wrestling, not because I want All Elite Wrestling to put WWE out of business, but because I want us to have competition. I want that again. And when we've seen that from WWE. What happened to them in the 90s? Their product was pretty stale and shit in the 1994, 1995. Horrible crap. I mean, I lived it. I remember it more like it was yesterday. When Nitro came around and Hall and Nash and the NWO, that blew everything WWE did out of the water. Fans were sick of that cartoony, stupid ass booking that they did in 1995. We complained about everything creatively, much like we're doing now. There's a new, fresh, young, hip wrestling organization out there with new ideas and changing the business and putting a lot of pressure on WWE. And what happened 3 years later, 4 years later, 5 years later? WCW was out of business. So WWE, when up against the ropes, my money's on them because they've never been knocked out. So why wouldn't I bet on them? So I'm not naive enough to say, oh, WWE's going down. You know, that's what blows my mind about the wrestling audience, because all it really takes is what? I don't know, a fourth grade level of basic business and economics to know that that is not possible. WWE is not going to go out of business. Think about what WWE was and who they were in 1994, 1995, 1996. They were still a very small, family-run company who was barely making any money and could not afford to pay their talent anywhere near what their competition could. That's not who they are now. And back then, that small little family-run company with not much money is going up against the wallet of Ted Turner, who owns his own network and can do whatever he wants. He can play 12 hours of Nitro if he wants. They have money to do whatever they want, including going live every week, which made them say, hey, let's give away the results of Raw on the air since they're taped bullshit. So if all of that money and all of that popularity that WCW had when they started bubbling, if that wasn't enough to put that tiny little company out of business, there's no way somebody's doing it now. WWE owns movie studios and shit. And they got a football franchise or football league, you know, on the side. They are unput out of businessable. It cannot happen. And at least it can't happen overnight. Maybe it's a gradual thing. You know, maybe they slowly get smaller and smaller and smaller, and in 25 years they cease to exist. But there's actually fans out there that think WWE will not see the year 2021. That's insane. And I think y'all need to just take a deep breath and try to just think a little bit, you know? Let's all collectively root for the success of All Elite Wrestling. I am 1,000,000% on your side on that. I want them to be as successful as possible. But to say they're going to put WWE out of business, no. The best we can hope for is WWE continues to get worse. They continue to make the creative mistakes to where they alienate and turn off as many fans as possible, and we just turn our attention right to All Elite Wrestling. We want both. We don't want one. You know, I know it's real fun to wish that the WWE dies, but trust me, you don't want that. You do not want All Elite Wrestling to be the only game in town. You don't. You want them to thrive on their competition and vice versa. And anytime that happens, I don't know, I mean, it's been a long time now since the Monday Night Wars. It's conceivable that there are a lot of wrestling fans that were just too young to even remember that. Well, I was in my mid-20s, so I remember it real well. And that was a fun time to have two companies at each other's throats, competing. They were even head-to-head, you know, on Monday nights, and I would strongly advise All Elite Wrestling not to do that. I will answer that super chat in a second, Mike Witt. Thank you, buddy. I would strongly advise them not to do that. TNA made that mistake, and I guess I respect fearlessness and say, okay, we want to take on these guys face-to-face, punch them in the mouth. I get that. But you also don't want to split the audience, divide the audience, or anything like that. You want fans to be able, as many fans to be able to see your product as possible. So if you are putting on a good product, the fans will recognize that. And I don't think All Elite Wrestling is going to try to go on Monday nights, but I am curious what night of the week they decide to air on, provided this TNT deal is legit, and it is announced officially next week, I think on Wednesday. They're doing something at Madison Square Garden, I think. So if that's all true, then I really want to know when they're going to air their show. SmackDown, when they move to Fox, I think is moving nights, right? Are they going to Fridays or something? So Tuesday night is open. Tuesday night will be a great night because it's right after Raw, and the fans can either be so disgusted by what they see on Raw that they don't want anything to do with wrestling the next day, or they're so disgusted by what they saw on Raw, they want to see something better the next day. And Tuesday might actually be a really good night for them to air. What I think would be fun is if they just did 6:05 on Saturday night. You know, it would be even better if they were on TBS. You know, but I just think of Dusty, you know, back in those days, and for Cody to now kind of have his own promotion and air on that time slot on essentially the same network would touch my special place in my heart, you know, kind of thing. But 6:05 on Saturday night might not be the most ideal or practical time slot either. And if they can get a primetime, an 8 p.m. slot or something like that on a weeknight on Tuesday night on TNT, they might want to go with that. So if I had my choice, I would either do Tuesday right after Raw, or for nostalgia, I would do Saturdays at 6:05. But that's just me. I'm not gonna tell them what to do. But I will be very curious to see what night of the week they land on and how that all goes, how their show looks, how it's structured and all of that, because now you got TV, and if you're doing it, like, I don't know how they're going to handle the shows. I don't know if they're going to tape them. I don't know if they're going to do, I don't know if WWE is now going to be the Ted Turner and All Elite Wrestling is going to be the tiny WWE. I don't know if All Elite's going to have to tape a few shows. They might have to. I don't know if they can go live every week. It's just going to be hard to do right out of the gate like this. They haven't even had their very first show, so internally, you're probably going to have some hiccups. You're probably going to hit a couple of speed bumps, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt right up front. They're allowed to make a few mistakes at first. They are an upstart company that's never even had a show and is probably only going to have a couple of shows by the time their TV show starts. We haven't seen that before. Even TNA, by the time they got a TV deal, they were around for a while. You know what I mean? They were doing the weekly pay-per-views, and they had like a track record. All Elite Wrestling doesn't have shit. So it's interesting. It's an interesting time. I'm excited, man. I cannot wait for this fall. Not only do we have SmackDown moving to Fox, WWE's on a different network now, and they have a new network paying them a lot of money who they're going to want to please. You would think that WWE's product just naturally is going to have to get better just for the sake of their survival on that network. And then you also have competition airing on a major cable network as well. I'll take it. I will take it. So we might be suffering through a lot of bullshit right now, but I'm a big believer in you have to retreat to move forward, and maybe we're going through maybe a lot of this bullshit that we're dealing with. You know what I feel like WWE is actually kind of a good analogy? I feel like WWE is the drug-addicted rock star who we're all just waiting to hit rock bottom and find Jesus. You know what I mean? It's like I want it to get worse. I want things to get so bad. I want the Raw ratings to take such a dip that WWE doesn't panic, but just says, okay, we're in survival mode now. Back in the day, Vince Russo and that whole Attitude Era idea that was starting to bubble behind the scenes creatively in the creative meetings was really the only direction they could go that was going to save them from WCW, who had now had the money and was poaching all the talent. Can't do that now. AEW can't go around poaching talent. They can grab some guys. They might even have CM Punk come in and work for their company. Great. They're probably going to get their hands on Ambrose or John Moxley. We got Jericho there. There's a few guys, but they're not going to be able to just take everybody the way WCW did to WWE back in the day. Hey, Hogan and Savage and everybody from that era, come on over here. Oh, and you can bring your names and gimmicks and trademarks with you. Honky Tonk Man can be Honky Tonk Man. Hogan can be Hogan. Savage can be Savage. Can't have that now. Roman Reigns can't be Roman Reigns in AEW. So it's just different. It's just all completely different. So, I was talking about that a little bit on Monday night too on the live stream, is that we were discussing this in the chat, like some of our advice for All Elite Wrestling. And number one, I did say don't try to go head to head with Raw. And number two, go back and watch TNA. Go back and watch their entire history and see what they did right, because they did a lot right and they did a lot wrong. How they're still hanging on blows my mind. But man, the mistakes they made trying to make themselves a carbon copy, smaller version of the WWE. Don't be the same as them. Be different as them. Don't bring in Hall and Nash and Bischoff and Hogan. What are you doing? The wrestling world was adoring your product. Better wrestling than WWE, better athletes, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, guys like that. Now it's Hogan and Bischoff and every single former WWE wrestler that they signed, Rob Van Dam, Jeff Hardy, Christian, whoever. The minute they're there, here you go, here's our title. It's yours now because you used to work for WWE, and that's all we care about. We want former WWE guys here who can get on the mic, say something snide about WWE, tickle the fans in their special place, and that's just, the fans love that shit. But when you rely on that so heavily, your product's not going to sustain that way. So you have to not get away from what got you on the map to begin with. And the reason fans started loving and respecting TNA was because of the good wrestling and because of the superior in-ring work. And some people thought the storylines were better. But then they ruined it. So, All Elite Wrestling, it's fine to take some former WWE guys, the Nevilles, the Ambroses, Jericho's, guys like that, great. But don't overrun your company with them, and don't make that your number one goal. You know, don't not sign a great wrestler who's maybe currently working for New Japan or something, and push them aside in order to sign just some random jobber in the WWE that was let go. You know, sign people who have buzz and people want to see and shit like that. So, you know, we have to see how it goes before we start jumping into what they can and what they are not doing right and wrong. But, you know, those are a few of the things like right up front that I would say, okay, be wary of this. And please don't screw it up. You know, we need All Elite Wrestling to survive. We need them to be a success. And if we want the wrestling product in general to get better, especially in WWE, All Elite Wrestling's success is essential to WWE's product getting better. So I just don't like the vindictive fans. Oh, WWE's going to go down the toilet and they're going to go out of business and blah, 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 blah. You know, I just want 2 successful wrestling companies. That's all I want. You know, I'm not looking to get revenge on WWE because they book stupid shit. You know, I don't have all this pent-up anger and aggression that so much of the wrestling audience has. You know, I just want to watch wrestling and like it. You know what I mean? Let me jump back up here and answer some of these super chats. I know I've missed a few, and then next we'll get into... yeah, we're going to get into the Bret Hart, Tom McGee stuff because that kind of has to do with All Elite Wrestling. But Mike Witt, thank you for the $5, brother. What was up with the Revival segment Monday on Raw? I'll be getting to that. Horrible, embarrassing segment. Feel bad for the Revival. Come to AEW, boys. Yes, I will get into that. That's one of the main things that I have written in capital letters here to talk about Usi Hot. So believe me, we'll be talking about that here in just a minute. I'm just gagging thinking about that. And thank you for another one as well, Mike Witt. Thanks for another $2. I think the Revival segment was rock bottom for you. Yes, it was pretty damn close for me. I was watching it on Monday night on the stream. I was horrified. Catherine, what's up, girl? Dropping in for a while you wait for your train. All right, hopefully you haven't already left. Oh, there you are again. Cool, good to see you in here as well. I got some mods. That's nice. Scott Moss, brother, thank you for the $10. I appreciate it. I'm taking a sabbatical from WWE since WrestleMania. A lot of people are. Clearly, the ratings show that, right? The only way I feel like I can get back is keep the brand separate and not to bring up NXT stars and bury them. Thoughts? Thanks. It's simple what you said, but it's not untrue. You know, I've been saying that. How long have I been saying that in my episodes about the NXT stars? You know, so many people on Twitter and comments or in the chat or wherever, they get so angry. You know, every time somebody is... Loud motorcycle. Every time somebody is brought up from NXT, no matter who it is, you always have that pocket of fans that say, yeah, but what about so-and-so? Oh, that's bullshit. Can't believe they called them up before Velveteen Dream. And I've always said, don't worry about it. It does not matter. You don't want them to come up to the main roster because what do you think the percentage is? I'm going to go 85 to 90% of the time, the NXT talent, the magic does not translate to the main roster. A couple of times it has. I think Finn Balor had a chance, but he got injured. You know, and now he's Intercontinental Champion, and he's, you know, medium to semi-main event, yes, but still didn't feel like he did in NXT. Samoa Joe, same thing. Bobby Roode, don't even get me fucking started. Drew McIntyre ain't dead yet. He's still got a chance, but I'm nervous. Shinsuke Nakamura, Sami Zayn, you know, although I love what Sami's doing now. It's just, why would you want them there? You know, sometimes they're better off in NXT, and I know the money will be better for them, for them personally. Yes, a roster call-up, if it means more money in their bank account, of course I want that for them. Creatively, I don't want them to leave NXT because I love what they do in NXT. I think Gargano and Ciampa would be huge failures on the main roster. Sorry, they just would. They're too goddamn small. And they would be written into stupid shit. They'd be booked like the Revival, and it would suck. But in NXT, they are awesome. I am on the edge of my chair biting my nails whenever those two guys are in the ring together or doing anything together in general. Fantastic. You take that exact same thing and you put it inside of a SmackDown or Raw environment, I could give two shits about it. So keep them there. I agree with you, Scott. Don't bring up NXT stars just to do nothing with them and bury them, you know, for lack of a better word. What has Heavy Machinery done since they've been on the main roster? Act stupid. That's it. You know, the War Raiders, why did you even call them up when they're NXT champions and then change their name 6 times? Just leave them there, man. NXT's great. You know, just figure out a way to pay them more there then. You know, if there was a way to make the NXT stars make what the main roster talent did, great. Then you'd have main roster guys requesting to be sent down to NXT. I sure would. Get to live in Florida, you know, and hang out at the Performance Center and shit, and I don't know, go on the road, but, you know, not probably as backbreaking as WWE. Got 4 pay-per-views a year to worry about. Matches can be good. You know, things are a lot better creatively, and the product's presented better and different. I'd be all for it. But as far as you taking a sabbatical, you know, I'm kind of doing the same thing in a way. You know, like I said, I'm working a lot of things behind the scenes here, and now I'm just, for the most part, you know, I'm not going to do a full Raw and SmackDown review. We're just going to talk about this shit casually until the product gets better. So I don't blame you for your sabbatical. Until then, make sure you tune in here, though. At least you can be caught up with what's going on if you just want to watch my streams instead. And Mike, thank you for another $2 there. Asuka was the worst used NXT star on the main roster. I don't think she was the worst used. Maybe the most disappointing. Worst used, no way. She's won a couple of titles, right? She's won the title. She does have a clean victory over Becky Lynch, the man, at the Royal Rumble. She's had some moments, but her run has been a huge disappointment. Maybe change that from, not from worst used, but to most disappointing. You know, I really thought she was going to be the shit. Even with that loss to Charlotte, I didn't even care. I thought the loss to Charlotte meant nothing. And Asuka would continue just to be the badass that she is and go on to win 100 world titles. But WWE dropped the fucking ball because they're idiots. Joey G, what's up, man? Thanks for dropping in. Thanks for the $2. I just mentioned you earlier on. Your video was done. I just didn't want to upload it side by side with this one. So I'm going to hang on to it, probably do Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. But it's coming, and it was fun, finally. And I give you a lot of shout-outs, a lot of props, and a lot of thank yous for your patience in that video. Okay, Fave, always cool to see Connor in here. How you doing, brother? Thanks for the $5, dude. I got to keep an eye out for your stream so I can toss that back to you. I did the same thing with Cronin, too. He'll come in here and, like, throw me money, and then I'd go back on, and then I'd go on one of his live streams and throw it back to him. But I appreciate you stopping by. And what's next on my list? I wanted to talk about the Bret Hart, Tom McGee stuff, because this has created a whole bunch of controversy, too, and I think it's more funny than anything else. Now, if you want to hear my thoughts, because I'm going to talk about a lot about All Elite Wrestling here, if you want to hear my thoughts about their TV deal, what I think they can do to compete with WWE, and what I think this type of competition means, and how big I think All Elite Wrestling can get, just rewind a little bit, you know, a couple minutes ago, and you'll be able to hear that stuff. The long-awaited match between Bret Hart and Tom McGee, this lost footage of this, I don't know if it was Tom McGee's tryout match, it might have been, but it was basically a dark match in 1986 between Tom McGee, a guy WWE had discovered and were going to push to the moon. They put him in the ring with Bret Hart. Bret put him over. Match never aired, and Bret has talked about it for years and years and years, and apparently the footage is just lost. Nobody has it. WWE either didn't care to look for it or can't find it or have it labeled wrong, or it's just lost, or it's buried in the archives somewhere. Nobody has ever seen this match. Well, recently it was revealed that it was found. Whoever was handling Bret Hart's video library wound up finding the match, and now that the footage is released, everybody wants to see it and is wondering if WWE's ever going to release it. And All Elite Wrestling, or I'm sorry, StarCast, the StarCast event that's taking place Double or Nothing weekend, is going to have a panel or an interview with Bret Hart and Tom McGee, where they're going to talk about the match with the fans. And when this was announced, all of a sudden, WWE now advertises that this coming Monday after Raw, they're going to air a little miniature documentary on the Bret Hart-Tom McGee match on the WWE Network, and they're going to air the match. And they're doing this ahead of the StarCast event, which a lot of fans feel is petty. And I feel that it absolutely does not matter at all. I am surprised how many fans are upset about this. Immediately saying, oh, WWE is scared of All Elite Wrestling. And I kind of mentioned something about this on Twitter yesterday, that, you know, WWE, can you blame them for just, I know it sucks when they cock block, you know, talent, and they do shitty things because of All Elite Wrestling. I was very upset about them denying Luke Harper his release and things like that. You know, so none of this stuff is untrue. WWE is definitely doing this stuff because of All Elite Wrestling. But, you know, I'm in the restaurant business, and if a new smaller restaurant is opening up across the street from mine, you know, if I feel like they are in any way a threat to me, I'm going to take steps necessary to ensure that they take affect as little of my business as possible. You know, it doesn't really mean I'm scared of them. It just means that I'm taking preemptive steps to kind of, you know, assert myself as being the number one. It's just business is all it is, and it sucks in some cases. But with this, I don't think it really harms anything. It's not going to do anything to the StarCast event. Even if WWE is doing it to be petty, joke's on them, because those dumbasses are probably, with their documentary on Monday, going to give the fans even more interest in this story and in the situation and in this match. And it might even increase the interest for the StarCast event. Because I think you have to purchase that shit. If you're not going to the event, but you want to watch this stuff, I think it's available on Fight TV for like $60. You know, WWE's network special might sell some StarCast tickets. I don't know. So I don't think it's really that huge of a deal. And if the fans want to jump all on the WWE's back, go ahead. But it's their match. They own it. They can do whatever they want. If Bret Hart and Tom McGee weren't doing the StarCast event, would WWE still air the documentary? Probably not. Probably not. And this is just stuff that they have every single right to do. What do you want them to do? If there's a new company coming up that's, you know, starting to make some waves and people are talking about it, are they just going to sit there and say, okay, do whatever you want to us? No, they're going to protect themselves. They're going to try to sign some of their talent, lock down a few guys so they can't be lured away. You know, maybe if they say, you know, I don't know if we want The Undertaker, you know, our Godfather, Andre the Giant, mythic level type of character here, I don't know if we want him appearing at a convention that's so closely linked to All Elite Wrestling. Same thing with Kurt Angle. We just put him in the Hall of Fame. Bret Hart and Tom McGee is okay, so I don't know why some guys are allowed and some aren't. But there are going to be plenty of cases now where WWE is going to flex their muscles and stop people and try to create obstacles for All Elite Wrestling. It sucks. Yes, it can be looked at as petty, but it can also be looked at as business. What do you expect them to do? You know, what would you expect All Elite Wrestling to do if they were in that situation? So it's just, I know WWE's the heels and AEW is the babyface, but you still have to be logical about it, you know, and you have to understand that this is just the way the fucking business world works. It's exactly the reason why I'm not in the business world, because I hate it, you know, and I hate some of the cutthroat type of shit and the nature that goes on in the business world. But still, you know, it's what WWE has every right, and they're well within their authority to do that and their rights. So I don't really find it a big deal. And I'm excited to see the documentary on Monday night. I actually want to check it out because I've seen a lot of Tom McGee matches from back in the day. He had a great look to him. He was real big. He was almost like, he looked like maybe a Kerry Von Erich, but maybe a little taller. Maybe somewhere in between a Kerry Von Erich and a Sid or something, or even a Kane or whatever. But huge, muscular, had the big blonde mullet type of Camaro hair that they would have in the 80s. And super talented, or not talented, super athletic, I should say. Very good athlete, very strong. He could do backflips off the top rope and shit. But in the ring, he was ass. I mean, he was so bad. And it's funny, too. I think it was about a year ago. He was involved in a really gnarly beatdown. I think outside of his apartment complex or something. There were some kids out there screwing around. He went and confronted them about a parking spot, and like a few of them just beat the hell out of him to where they broke his orbital bone, they broke his jaw, knocked his teeth out, broke his nose. There's news footage on YouTube. You can go search it, of the news report and a picture of what his face looked like. Holy shit. I mean, he's lucky to be alive. And that only happened, I think, like a year ago. So I'm happy to see that he's recovered from that, and he's obviously going to be doing the appearance at StarCast. And I hope this whole situation brings Tom McGee a little money. If he can cash in on some appearances like StarCast, maybe cash in on a few more, do a couple of interviews. And I don't know if he's interviewed for the WWE doc that's going to air on Monday or not. I hope that he is. And I hope they tossed him a few bucks for this. Maybe Bret Hart can help him out, you know? So that would be nice if it turned out to be a positive thing for Tom McGee. And if you think about it from Tom McGee's perspective, this extra documentary, whether it's spiteful or petty or not, is good for him. So give him a break. Leave him alone. Mike Witt, thanks for another $5, buddy. Viceland did a documentary on Gino Hernandez this week. Interesting, but kind of screwed up. Scary stuff. I haven't watched the documentary yet, but that whole situation with his death was screwed up. I've seen documentaries on him before, and I think the Viceland will maybe put a different spin on it. I mean, it definitely is the dark side of wrestling. The Von Erichs and Bruiser Bodie, those were tough to watch. And I've seen people say they've watched the Gino one twice, so I know it's good. I'll check it out this week, but I don't think I want to. I think you're right. I think it was a perm. That's next on my list, man. Lars Sullivan coming up next. Did I touch on everything I wanted to touch on with the Bret Hart, Tom McGee stuff? I think I did. And again, with All Elite Wrestling and their new TV deal and all of that, we could be in for an exciting time. I mean, right now, I think it feels like shit sucks, but just wait. I think a year from now, we might be liking wrestling a lot. We might really like the way the wrestling landscape looks. It's very possible 1 year from now. Before I get into the Lars Sullivan stuff, though, let me enter the super chat from Alex Bryant. Speaking of your restaurant, are you going to go through the entree, the giant pork chop? Maybe with a side of broccolini Heenan. Broccoli Heenan, that's hilarious. Yeah, I was joking because I am in the restaurant business, and we have this giant, enormous pork chop, like 20 ounces on the menu. And I'm like, what if we called it entree the giant? And I pitched it to the chef. He's like, I like it. So I'm petitioning to get that on the menu. We'll see if I can pull it off. But yeah, next up we have, so random, rarely even that's so random. I actually have met her because she filmed a movie when I lived in Wilmington with like Sandra Bullock and some other girls. They were all in. But yeah, I have met Ashley Judd before. That's funny. Let's talk about this Lars Sullivan news. Now, this is not really news. Lars Sullivan, for those of you who don't know, many years ago, he had a personality, or he had an account on a message board. I think it was some bodybuilding website or something like that. And he was basically being a troll, but some of the things he was saying was so incredibly over-the-top racist and offensive and fucked that it's mind-blowing. I'm not even going to dare to repeat it. If you want to research this shit yourself, you can. And some of it, when it wasn't even that long ago. Some posts dated back as long as 11 years ago. Some were like 5. So it wasn't even like that long ago. So he's a different person now. Go fuck yourself. It was 5 years ago. I think it's horrible, but at the same time, we've all known about this. We've known about it for some time. I think I remember hearing about this in the news, maybe around Survivor Series, something like that, last year. And I remember thinking it was fucked up. I remember reading what he wrote, thinking it was fucked up. But WWE already knew about it. We knew. WWE already knew about it. But they were pushing him anyway, hugely, on NXT. They started running vignettes for him late in the year, and then he had that bout with mental illness or whatever it was, or anxiety or whatever the hell caused him to go AWOL there, which is ironic because when you read some of his fucked up social or message board posts, he insults people with mental illnesses. And apparently that's what happened to him, or so they say. Now you've got fans speculating that maybe WWE just made all that shit up to get him off of TV for a while, try to let things cool off, blow over, and then bring him back. But then it's come up again, and I can't remember what exactly brought it up, but I believe it was when a fan asked Big E about it, and then he responded to it on Twitter, stirring the whole pot again and getting people to kind of revisit this issue. On social media, it is somewhat split as far as the fans. Some fans are like, oh, well, he says it a bunch of years ago. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. People change. People make mistakes. I'll let it go. I don't care. Where some feel he should be fired for this. And I'm almost in the middle. I wouldn't shed a tear if he was fired. I'll say that first of all. I don't give a shit about Lars Sullivan. He sounds like an asshole. I don't care how many years ago he made those comments. There is no way he's a 1,000,000% different person. I saw his little statement. Those don't reflect my feelings, and it doesn't represent who I am. 5 years ago didn't represent who you are? I was the exact same person I am 5 years ago. I was the exact same person I am 11 years ago. Now, I know when you're 18 and 20 years old, which I guess was around the age that he was when he made these posts, you're stupid, you have no filter, and you say stupid shit. And you're probably insanely and jaw-droppingly misinformed on a lot of issues, which he clearly was. And a lot of people say, well, he was just trolling. He didn't really mean these things. He just did it to stir people up. That's equally as fucked up. That's not an excuse. Trolling, that's the type of life you have, is to go online to write racist shit that you don't believe just to piss off somebody. That's even dumber than writing the racist shit to begin with. So I'm not gonna use that as an excuse at all. he's a troll or he's a fucking dumbass either way. Doesn't matter which way you slice it. You know, I think being a troll is just as dumb. Because what's the point? What kind of fucking life do you have? You know, to troll people and pretend you have a great life, but you're the one on message boards, motherfucker, actually taking time out of your life to piss off other people. What does that say about you? I have no sympathy for this asshole, whatever happens to him. But I don't think WWE really cares. I think they know about it. I think they just hope, and were hoping that it would go away. They could sweep it under the rug and continue to push him and continue to make this new monster that they see dollar signs in. They signed this guy a long time ago. I don't know how long he was in developmental, but I know it was a while. So I think they were fully aware of this stuff. Maybe they thought it wouldn't get out. I don't know who dug it up or who was originally the one that kind of made this known to everyone. I think a few people might have known, but this wasn't common knowledge. And now it's being revisited again, right in the middle of Lars Sullivan and his huge push that he's currently getting. He's mowing down everybody, and they've got plans for him. And now it's just a matter of how WWE handles it. Do they do anything about it at all? Do they punish a guy for something that he did nearly a decade ago? You know, I think they might have not needed to sign him to begin with. But based on what he said, even though I think it's horrible and stupid and ignorant and fucking foolish, and I don't condone it at all, and I would not care if he was fired at all, wouldn't even shed a half a tear about it. I'd actually probably be pretty happy. I don't know if I necessarily want him fired either, you know? Like, is that really the answer? You know, what I would hope, you know, is that Lars does learn from his mistakes. Apparently, yeah, I'm sure he does feel bad. But, you know, you can't write things that specific and that harsh. It's not like Rhea Ripley recently on Twitch, right? She was on the stream, and in the middle of a conversation, in the heat of the moment, she dropped a slur, you know? So, like a homophobic slur, right on the stream. Like, that's the type of stuff I'm like, okay, she's stupid and she's an idiot and she needs to shut her damn mouth. But it was almost like it was a slip of the tongue. It was quick. She shouldn't be fired for something like that. But when you make these specific type of comments with, you know, with these specific points coming across, you clearly think you know everything, you know, and you're very aggressive with your opinions. There's no way a little bit of that does not still linger in him. You know, maybe he just realizes now, oh shit, I'm famous. I can't say stupid shit. I just need to think it and not say it out loud. So now he probably does feel bad about that. And now he's apologized to the New Day. Poor New Day has to be apologized to by everybody. I'm still waiting for the Lars Sullivan and Hulk Hogan walks into a bar jokes. Can we get some of those? You know, but, you know, in today's society and you know, with the way the climate is in society, I think that this is really horrible, you know, and when something like this comes out, you're fucked like a stray dog in Chinatown. And if WWE just tries to make it go away or they try to ignore it, fine, they have every right to do that too. Like I said, even though I wouldn't care that he was fired, let's not fire him. Let's just not fire him. You know what I hope though? And I hope this for him and anybody else that makes these comments like this or makes comments like this. I just hope that he lives the rest of his life in awkwardness and is ashamed, you know, for the rest of his life. I hope he feels terrible. I hope it eats away at him. I hope that he spends every single day he has on this earth wishing he never said that. And I hope he's uncomfortable around any person or any minority, you know, or around any gay person or anybody else that he shit on in those stupid social media or those stupid message board posts. I hope he feels uncomfortable, anxious, and awkward around people like that for the rest of his life. And I hope he never lives it down. And I hope it's one of his biggest regrets ever. Because to me, that's just as big of a punishment as being fired by WWE. No, let him work. You know, let WWE's creative team turn him into Vladimir Kozlov. Because that would be punishment enough too. So, you know, firing the guy, as much as I think he's a fucking shit on a stick, I don't necessarily want him to be fired. Let's keep him there. You know, just being in WWE might wind up being punishment enough because generally speaking, we've seen Braun Strowman and a lot of other big monsters that WWE has had. You know, at some point, they're going to be out there in the ring dancing with somebody. Lord Tenzai, you know, Brodus Clay and, you know, guys like that. So if Lars lives the rest of his life in regret and is booked like a complete pile of shit in WWE, we're even, as far as I'm concerned. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing to me what young people say. You know, I was dumb when I was 19 and 22, but I wasn't Lars Sullivan dumb. What's his name? Dylan Miley, whatever the fuck. It's ignorance to a jaw-dropping level, and it's a pretty good illustration too of really what is out there in this country. There are a lot of people, an alarmingly, disturbingly large amount of people that have these type of views. They're just not famous, so nobody gives a shit. Most of them are wearing red hats with a little saying on the top. And I think that this type of ignorance is one that maybe some people can learn from it. I don't know, you know, but maybe if people see what Lars Sullivan is now going through, he has to apologize. It's affecting his career. WWE might have to take some action, especially if they get some pushback from sponsors, things like that. You know, and same thing with Hogan's issues, you know, and anybody just getting caught doing anything in general, maybe that'll make a young, dumb, knuckle-dragging fuck think before he types. And maybe, you know, this can be a lesson to somebody. It's not ever going to end the trolling. It's not going to ever end these type of thoughts and comments, but it can maybe teach one or two people a lesson, and it can save even just one life. Then I think, you know, maybe it will be worth it in the end. But for me, either way, I guess I'm almost indifferent to Lars Sullivan and his career. They can fire him tomorrow, great. He can win the U.S. title in 3 months, great. I really don't care. I just hope that he just learns from it and grows the fuck up. And if he does have to go around and apologize to a lot of people and eat a little bit of shit and be ashamed and be embarrassed, I also think that's punishment enough, because that's not fun. It's not fun to be embarrassed. We've all been embarrassed before, you know? So remember when my cat shut down my stream? That embarrassed me. But I just hope that he has remorse, and I hope he really legitimately feels bad, you know, for what he did. I'm going to catch up a couple of super chats here. Dominique, thank you for the $5, brother. I'm thinking about paying you $100 to do a video about John Cena. Your thoughts on him and your fave matches, like top 5 or top 3, is fine. I appreciate that. Stay tuned, though, for the new donation video I have coming to the channel in a couple of days. I am, Dominique, just for a short time, temporarily suspending the donations until I finish the channel overhaul, because I don't want anybody to have to donate and then have to wait forever for me to get the video done. So, yeah, keep that in mind. And then as soon as I talk about all of this in the next donation video, Dominique, so you'll hear that Monday or Tuesday. I'll give you the lowdown on that. But basically, just until I'm done with my facelift here, I'm going to suspend the donation video requests because I don't have time to do them. But I'll be picking it back up probably at the end of the summer. But thank you, man. That would be a fun that would be a fun video to do. I'm definitely ready to start talking about some positive things about John Cena now that he's out of our face. Now that we have a new John Cena to take a shit on named Roman Reigns, we can now go back and look at the positives of John Cena without the fans taking shits on the floor. So I'm all for that, brother. And thank you for another $2 there. Anyone can blame me if they don't like the video. Yeah, everyone can blame you. No, I was just saying that I think they'll be more receptive to it. Best of John Cena video and John Cena's greatest matches hitting my YouTube channel in 2014. Yeah, we'd be getting death threats. But here in 2019, I think everybody grew the fuck up, and we can do it. Give Lars Sullivan the Akeem gimmick. That would be funny. But yeah, so the Lars Sullivan stuff is fucked up, and I think he should have known better. Let's move on to something positive just for a second before we start talking about WWE stuff. What's going on with Big E and Becky Lynch's mom? Will y'all fill me in on that? Because Big E has taken a liking to not the man, but the ma, I guess as she's called. She's a very pretty lady, but Big E is hilariously smitten with her, and he had a picture of himself looking at her on his laptop, and I think he might have been touching himself. Not sure what's going on there. I'm not saying I want him to make a sex tape. I'm not saying that. I would never insinuate that they should make a sex tape, because if they made a sex tape, it'd probably be frowned upon and immature of me to say that I want them to make a sex tape. So they probably shouldn't make a sex tape, because I'd feel bad if I kept telling them, "Hey, make a sex tape," and then, you know, and then they did, and then people would blame me for having them make the sex tape. So I definitely don't want to tell them to make a sex tape. They don't want to do that. No sex tapes. You don't want to do that. Nathan Hansen, thanks for the $2. Hi, Greg. I would love to see Andrade and Ember win. Win what? Oh, Money in the Bank. Andrade and Ember. Yeah, and we're going to talk about the Money in the Bank here in a minute, because one thing I always say about the Money in the Banks now that we have a men's and a women's, I think it's like you got to do a Raw person winning one, a SmackDown person winning the other, and then you have to have a babyface win one and a heel win the other. And with the Money in the Bank briefcase, which we'll talk about here in a minute, how is that going to play into the wild card rule? You know what I mean? So there could be all sorts of crazy shit going on there. But Becky Lynch's mom and Big E, they could be the next it couple. They could be going to events together. Becky could be Big E's stepdaughter. That is a porno waiting to happen. WWE also, I should be noted, is in England this week, right? They're overseas right now doing their big tour, so I think Raw and SmackDown will both be in London and both be taped. Boy, if there was ever a time for me to take a stream off, it should be this Monday, but I'll plan on being here anyway. We'll live stream Monday Night Raw. We'll see how good it is. And you know what? I'm going to read every fucking spoiler. I do not care. What's the harm, right? What's the harm in reading the Raw spoilers? I will still not spoil anything for you guys on the Raw stream on Monday, but I better not hear one single person complain about reading a spoiler on Monday. It doesn't matter. The show's probably going to suck. Even if it's good, it's going to suck next week. So spoilers don't matter. Hopefully I'll read them and actually like what I see, and it might make for a more enjoyable stream, especially if I'm expecting to see something bad and we see something good, you know? But let's talk about last week's Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live, and I need a drink of water for this. This is going to make me lose my mind. Man, so Monday Night Raw, off the heels of the horrible rating they drew, I think, the week before. I think they fell like below 2 million viewers for a particular hour or something like that. Dismal. Really bad. Vince McMahon opens up the show, and there's this big segment with a bunch of SmackDown guys. Now, Roman Reigns was rumored to appear on Raw as soon as the news of those bad ratings came in. As soon as WWE got the ratings for Raw, Roman Reigns tweets out that he's going to be on Monday Night Raw. Then WWE tweets out, no, you're not. And then Roman Reigns tweets out, yes, I am. So we knew we were going to see Roman Reigns back on Monday Night Raw, which was immediately frustrating all of us, including me. You know, because it pains me to think, it's not Roman's fault. Roman's got nothing to do with this. But it blows my mind that if WWE gets a bad rating like that, they automatically think the answer is put Roman Reigns back on TV. Or put Roman Reigns back on Raw. That must be why the ratings sucked, because Roman's gone. Like, Jesus, I find it completely adorable that we live in a universe where the fans think Roman Reigns is the cause for all the bad ratings, and WWE thinks having no Roman Reigns is the cause of bad ratings. This is like a fucking black hole of stupid collapsing in on itself. And you take WWE's horrible, idiotic booking with the fans' irrational, psychotic hate, and it is a recipe for a Category 5 clusterfuck of misery, I think is the way I put it on Twitter a few days ago. It's awful. So Vince McMahon comes out. I don't even know what the fuck he was saying. Then Roman comes out, right? Roman comes out after Vince. Then Kofi Kingston comes out. And then Daniel Bryan comes out. So on Monday Night Raw, we open up the show with Vince McMahon and 3 SmackDown stars. And they're all in the ring cutting promos on each other, and Vince McMahon finally says he has an epiphany. He's brilliant. He's got this great idea. Why don't we have this wild card rule where any 3 competitors from SmackDown Live or Monday Night Raw can show up on either show every week. It's called the wild card rule, which on the surface is shit and makes no sense. And number one, they've already been doing this. Why are you going to create a rule? And also limit yourself, because what if the storyline you have, it would really be better if more than 3 people were on SmackDown. Then you're going to fucking change it anyway, which they would like an hour later. So right off the bat, this makes no sense. And how do you police this? Any 3 stars from Raw can go to SmackDown and vice versa. So, okay, how do you decide who those 3 people are? And if the talent is not communicating, what if the entire SmackDown roster has the same idea? And they say, well, 3 of us can go to Raw, so I'm going to go to Raw. And every SmackDown star thinks that in their head. And then they all show up on TV on Monday night. 70 wrestlers, or however many people, are on the SmackDown brand. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. They didn't even need this wild card rule. All they needed was Vince McMahon coming out there and saying, I want to shake things up a bit. So from now on, I reserve the right just to bring anybody I want from either show. I would have actually preferred that to WWE basically just saying, we can do whatever we want with or without the stupid brand split. I would have much more respect for that than them trying to make up this bullshit rule, which was rendered obsolete within the hour. Because then later on in the night, Lars Sullivan comes out, beats the shit out of No Way Jose and his rosebuds or whatever, and then he goes backstage, and Vince McMahon is like on the phone, and then doesn't he change it to 4? And so Vince McMahon's like, okay, it's going to be 4 now. Okay, 4. But then in the Roman Reigns-Drew McIntyre match, which was made in the opening segment, Vince made a WrestleMania rematch, Roman versus Drew. And I was calling during the stream, I was calling for a DQ, or I was actually calling for some interference from Elias and Shane in order to give Drew McIntyre the victory. It was a DQ, fine, don't give a shit. Just didn't want to see Drew McIntyre get pinned. That's all. Elias and Shane interrupt that match. So now we're at 6. He started with 3, he upped it to 4, but then 6 SmackDown competitors showed up on Raw. Where's my heroin? I mean, what the hell, man? This is so bad. I want to know the combined salary of every single creative writer they have in the company. This is the shit they come up with. I don't understand why they chose this route to make it happen. If you want to kind of blur the lines between the brand split, I get it. You've already been doing that. But don't start creating rules now that you're going to break in the very same broadcast. You know, by the end of the show, Vince's rule of 3 went to 6, and now it's like back to 4 again. And then we saw that on SmackDown too with people showing up. So the whole thing just doesn't make any sense at all. And I think the wild card rule is a poor attempt to spice up ratings. It doesn't matter. It's not necessarily the talent. It's not that we need certain talent on certain shows. It's that we just need the overall writing to be better. You know, the production, did you see? I forgot who posted this on Twitter. But they took like the last 4 Lars Sullivan run-ins where he beats somebody up, Hardy Boys or whoever the fuck, and does the running powerbomb. It's the same 2 camera angles in every shot. It's like boom, boom, boom. It's just such this repetitive nonsense and this redundant crap, and the storylines are ass. You got champions losing on TV every week. No feuds, angles, personal issues, heat. None of that is developed in any sort of compelling, effective way at all. None of it's organic. It's all just this force-fed shit that just changes from week to week. WWE says, we got a different idea. The ratings are bad. We're going to change this direction. They're doing the exact same thing they used to make fun of WCW for doing back in the day. Back during the Monday Night Wars, we would hear about what a clusterfuck Nitro was. Rewrites, 3-4 different rewrites. Sometimes the show would be going live and the show wasn't finished being written yet. That was ludicrous. That blew our minds as wrestling fans that shit was that disorganized in WCW. WWE's doing it worse than them. You know? WCW, they look like they got their shit together compared to what WWE is doing now. And it's like there was a story too recently, a couple weeks ago, that I read about WWE trying to hire somebody to handle storyline continuity. And I'm like, isn't that supposed to be like Vince and other people? Don't you already have those people there? So now they actually have to hire somebody, create a position for somebody just to remind people of what they've already done. You know, hey, you can't do this because 2 weeks ago they said this or whatever. You know, just continuity. Just make sure your shit makes sense and stop flip-flopping so damn much. And I can't believe a person isn't already in charge of continuity. Isn't that what a writing team is supposed to do? You got 100 writers there. What the hell are you guys doing? Playing with your pricks? Oh my God. It's just, yeah, and the production shit is a mess anyway with Kevin Dunn and that shaky ass camera. I also saw there was a video, I guess a fan took cell phone footage at Raw of a brawl on the outside of the ring with the cameraman. And he's just literally going like this with the camera. And I'm like, my God. It just makes this, it presents their product. It gets so boring, gets so horrible. We see the same shit every week. I literally cannot tell one Raw from the other apart. They all run together, same matches, 50-50 booking, same type of overall template or overlays for your, and framework for all your storylines and all your angles. You know, you book them much in the same way. You just move shit around, just like a big puzzle. You know, nothing is creative. Nothing is out of the box. Nothing is new. Nothing is fresh. And at the end of the day, it's still a WWE created product. And everything you see on TV has got WWE's fingerprints all over it, and it's just old and stale. And I even think that the Firefly Funhouse, as much as this is kind of fun and kind of weird right now, it's going to be fucked up. Everything they do is going to be fucked up. Every NXT star they bring up is going to be fucked up. And that's why I said, for wrestling's sake, and for our sanity's sake, if we want to see an improvement of Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live and how WWE produces TV, I think the only way we can get there is to see them hit rock bottom. Like I said, they need to be the drug-addicted rock star to overdose and then wake up and find Jesus. We need them to hit rock bottom. You have to retreat to move forward. And I think if WWE continues to get worse and worse and worse and worse, and All Elite Wrestling launches, and they're a success, and they're the new thing, and fans are starting to gravitate to it, that is only going to make WWE's product better, and then we are going to be sitting pretty. So it's very possible that 1 year from this day, we've got a very different opinion on what kind of a wrestling product we have out there. We might all be happy as shit because WWE has now gotten better, and there's some pressure on them now. And that's just all I hope for. So we might just have to sit here and eat a lot of shit for the rest of 2019 and hope we get a great 2020. Know what I'm saying? Thank you, Joshua, for the 99 cents. I think I owe a couple of more thank yous as well. No, maybe not. But as far as what else we saw, like on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live, I mentioned the Firefly Funhouse a minute ago. What I liked about that is Mercy the Buzzard, who ate the little bunny rabbit or whatever. He said, you know what I mean? Just like Waylon Mercy used to. So if we were wondering if Mercy the Buzzard was a direct reference to Waylon Mercy, we know 100% for sure it is now. That was awesome. I kind of dug the little kids with the blank stares on their face. Now it appears that Bray Wyatt, maybe he's drugging these kids. Maybe he's got some sort of a cult. Apparently there was some hidden message, some Easter egg in some of his promos back in like 2015. He said that there's one line in each promo that doesn't belong, and you have to try to piece them together. So that's supposedly going to be revealed this week, whatever the hell that was. And I'm guessing that Bray Wyatt is still kind of the evil Bray Wyatt. He's still that person inside, but he's having a mental breakdown or some shit. I don't know where this shit is leading, but I'm still enjoying the vignettes. I'm still enjoying the segments, the Firefly Funhouse segments. But I have a feeling, just based on WWE's history, that the bloom will be off the rose real quick with this, and I think it'll start to bore us a little bit. I'm just kind of got that feeling. But for now, it's fun. The main event that I mentioned earlier on, Kofi Kingston actually defended the WWE title on Raw. So the SmackDown title being defended in the main event of Raw, okay, whatever. I thought they might do a title change. I thought they would panic about these ratings, and they would do a title change in the main event of Raw to spice things up, but they didn't. Kofi Kingston did beat Daniel Bryan clean, which I was perfectly fine with. I would like to see Daniel Bryan remain in the title picture, but maybe for now he won't be. Kofi's got to face Kevin Owens at Money in the Bank. So I was perfectly fine with Kofi winning. I was fine with it, happy about it, but I think he's probably only got a couple of months left with that belt at the most. McLean Roche, thank you for the $1. I appreciate it. Yeah, Alex Bryant, I talked about that earlier on. Still kind of curious how I can stream Double or Nothing. I'm not looking to buy it on pay-per-view. I want to stream it, and so far I can't find any info on it. But I'll figure something out by the time we get to the 25th. Speaking of shit that pisses me off, oh man, should we talk about Usi Hot? Any of y'all ever used that before? Did you buy it at the store, go to CVS? Hey, where's y'all's Usi Hot? Oh, aisle 6? Okay, I'm gonna go get me some Usi Hot. The Revival apparently have turned down new contract offers from WWE. They had already requested their release once. WWE asked them to hang tight. I guess they're not wanting to re-sign their deal. They were both offered, I think, 5-year deals or something like that, which last we heard they have turned down. Don't know if that's changed. I would assume not, based on how they've been treated on TV. And this is, much like the Tom McGee, Bret Hart stuff that I defended. WWE doing spiteful things, and petty things. Something like this bothers me a hell of a lot more than WWE doing the Bret Hart and Tom McGee documentary on the network on Monday. Much more. I think this is such horseshit. You got this great team, this great tag team. Another great example of why you don't want to call up NXT talent because they just suck when they get to the main roster. Those guys were great in NXT. Here they are. They had one little run with the tag belts that meant nothing. And 2 weeks ago, they were caught shaving each other's backs in the shower by the Usos, who were videotaping them shaving each other's backs. And then this past week on Raw, I don't know, there's some match. I forgot what was even going on. Revival's in the ring. Usos come out to the stage to cut a promo and say, hey, have you ever used Usi Hot? So they basically took like Icy Hot. That's that like tingling cream that soothes joint pain or whatever the fuck it is. I've never used it. And they changed it to Usi Hot. Get it? Usi, Icy. So they got the fucking jar of Usi Hot there, and they inform the Revival that they slipped it in their lotion or something like that. Basically, the Revival got this shit all over their balls. But it's like time activated or something. So Revival's in the ring not knowing what's going on. And then Usos just count down and they're like, okay, it's going to start burning in 3, 2, 1. And then Revival starts freaking out. Like it's that timed, you know, you can know exactly when the shit's going to kick in. Next thing you know, both Revival members are dancing around the ring, trying to cool off their balls. They run up to the stage. One of them's got water, dumping it down his crotch. Vince, I'm sure, is on the floor laughing at Gorilla, in the fetal position, laughing, drooling, tears coming down his face. He thinks this shit is so funny. And everybody watching this, I sat here on Raw, on the stream, and I was just ready. I'm like, I'm just turning everything off, and I'm literally, with no shoes and a pair of boxer shorts on, I'm wandering into the forest, and I'm never coming back. This is oh my God. I don't even, like WWE, are they just amusing themselves? You know, are they just doing that? Oh, the Revival's not going to re-sign. Let's have them dance around there with their balls on fire and with their cocks burning. Yes, that'll be great. You know, are you really that petty? Are you really that spiteful? Fuck Bret Hart and Tom McGee. This is the type of shit that pisses me off. Because they're not going to sign a contract. You're going to not only make them suffer, but the fans. Now the fans have to suffer for you being upset that two guys just want to get the fuck out of that company. So you're going to punish them and us? Go to hell, WWE. This is so stupid. There's nobody in their right mind that would think this is funny. You know, who in their right mind would think this is funny? And I think I just answered my own question. Nobody. Nobody in their right mind would. Except Vince McMahon. He probably thought this shit was great. And I mean, maybe 17-year-old GoodMicWork might have thought this was funny if it was like the first time I've seen this. Maybe I would get a chuckle out of it or something for a second because I'm young and stupid. But this is not creative. This is not wrestling. You're taking a great tag team that actually the focal point of the Usos and the Revival should be their wrestling because they're great teams. Some teams, some people and talent, you need to do this stuff with to make up for the fact that you might not get much out of the ring. You saw a lot of the shit in the 80s and 90s. You know, a lot of gimmicks, a lot of silly angles and storylines and feuds. And sometimes when you knew you couldn't get much out of the ring, you had to make up for it in the story. You don't need that with these two. I remember when they were on separate brands. I was in my podcast. I was like, man, I cannot wait until the Revival and the Usos get on the same brand. We need those matches. And here we are, and we got back shaving and cock burning. Tune in next week for taint waxing. Fun, right? I'm over it, man. This is really, really bad. It's downright pathetic. You know, and then WWE, speaking of being spiteful, you got a character like Sami Zayn, who I love what he is saying on the mic. Don't get me wrong. Let me say right up front that if Sami Zayn starts a cult, I'm joining. I will be the very first member. I will pledge my life to Sami Zayn. Love his promos. But at the same time, this is a character that's being developed for WWE to voice what they think. You know, Sami Zayn is basically speaking for WWE. Roman Reigns is kind of speaking for the fans right now. There it is, another ploy to get him over, right? But if you notice, Roman Reigns is kind of making reference to the shitty storylines and the bad ratings and stuff. You know, so eventually I thought we might get a Sami and Roman collision with Sami representing WWE and their views and Roman representing the fans or something like that. But Sami Zayn is not all wrong, you know, and I've said that about really, really good heels. You know, we all have said that. We know that, you know, if there's any sort of truth sewn into what you're saying, that just makes your character even stronger. And a really good heel really has to believe that he's right. And Sami Zayn speaks as if he believes it, for real. But of course, what's great and has great potential here, WWE is already fucking up. What happened to him on Monday night? He's being chased around by Braun Strowman all over the arena, into the backstage area, into the garage or wherever, and then Braun Strowman winds up throwing Sami Zayn in a dumpster, and then a garbage truck just happens to be there. And he waves it in. Truck pulls up. Shout out to Lance Storm on Twitter, who said, I thought trucks only made the beeping noise when they were backing up, which was funny. So the truck is driving forward, but it's still making that beep, beep, beep that you hear from trucks. And then it lifts up the dumpster. Of course, the camera cut away because Sami was not in there. And then dumps the dumpster into the truck, and Sami Zayn was driven away in the garbage truck. Funny. Man, WWE. That's 8th graders writing this shit. 8th graders. 8th graders. This is so bad. And shit's not going to get any better. We got 2 taped shows this week. We've got Money in the Bank coming up, which could potentially be good. At least we've got some briefcases now that'll make things more fun. But after that, they're going to Saudi Arabia for a show that I'm not even going to watch, that I give 0 fucks about. And I guess Undertaker's going to be there. Goldberg's going to be there. Who cares? Fuck Saudi Arabia. I want nothing to do with that show. And then we're on to what? Stomping Ground. WWE took away my San Diego Backlash to give us Stomping Ground. Man, it's just things ain't good. I'm ready for that. I'm ready for that All Elite Wrestling to start. That's what I want. Man, shit's bad. So couldn't be better timing for All Elite Wrestling having their first pay-per-view in 2 weeks, because I think fan frustration right now in WWE is at an all-time high. I mean, I've been on YouTube forever, and I've seen what fans say. Fans are frustrated about everything. You know, you can give them greatness. You can give them steak and lobster, and they'll still bitch about it. But at least for right now, I'm kind of on the side of the frustrated people, because this is real bad. Real bad, as Macho Man would say. And so, All Elite Wrestling, this is their chance. Strike while the iron's hot. Explode onto the scene. Start off in a big way. Hit a major network this fall. And who knows, sky's the limit, right? But a lot of people are calling this past Monday's Raw the worst Raw of all time. Or one of the worst Raws in recent memory. Which, like I said earlier, speaks volumes to how bad the product is, considering we had a WWE title match with 2 wrestlers who all the fans like in the main event. Everybody loves Bryan. Everybody loves Kofi. Should be a match that we're dying to see. WrestleMania rematch for the title. A post-WrestleMania Monday Night Raw caliber match. They could have done that match the night after Raw, because that Raw was a huge disappointment. Everything's been a huge disappointment since after WrestleMania. So this is it, man. I just hope all of this leads to wrestling getting better. But like I said, fans, one of their biggest weaknesses is they have no patience, ever. You know, they want everything to happen, and they want it yesterday. But it doesn't work like that. And in order for WWE to all of a sudden get better, it's going to have to be a gradual thing, not an overnight thing. And that's why I'm kind of saying I'm really curious. Maybe one of you guys will remember this date and remind it to me, or remind me of it on social media 1 year from now. I really want to see what things look like. By then, we'll be 6 or 8 months into the run of All Elite Wrestling. They'll be on TNT with a lot of shows under their belt. We'll get an idea for what they're about. We'll see if WWE has done anything to improve, and they have taken notice of their competition now and making steps creatively on TV to do better, to where All Elite Wrestling takes as little of their business as possible. That's what we have to hope for here, you know? So I'm hoping. Let me go down here to the chat before I move into SmackDown. I don't have much to talk about on SmackDown Live. And then we'll kind of do some rapid fire questions and hang out for a bit, and then I will go ahead and get out of here. All right, cool. Didn't miss any super chats or nothing. And as far as SmackDown goes, who do we have on SmackDown? AJ Styles and Sami Zayn showed up. Kofi Kingston defended the belt again on SmackDown, so props to Kofi for going back-to-back nights there, and are successfully retained on Raw against Bryan and successfully retained on SmackDown against AJ and Sami. So I was happy for that. But again, it's just more bringing guys over, right? You know, AJ and Sami Zayn now show up. Okay, fine, whatever. Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan are your new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. The Hardys, of course, had to forfeit the titles due to the injury to Jeff Hardy. Shane McMahon said that he was just going to announce the new champions on SmackDown, so I guess what he did was announce a match between the Usos and Eric Rowan and Daniel Bryan, and the winner would become the new tag team champions, and Bryan and Rowan won. So I kind of thought, even with the loss on Monday night, that Bryan would probably find his way back into the world title mix. I thought maybe Kevin Owens would wind up falling short at Money in the Bank, and then Daniel Bryan would take the belt at the next pay-per-view or something like that. Maybe not now that he's the tag team champion with Eric Rowan. What the hell are they doing with Luke Harper? You know, the Rowan and Harper, they beat the Usos for the tag team titles when they were the Bludgeon Brothers. Now Harper is doing absolutely nothing, and WWE will not release him. Why not just bring him back and put him with Bryan and Rowan? You know, have them make that faction. I was calling for Luke Harper to join the two of these guys way back in February at the Elimination Chamber. Why don't you just bring back Harper, put the belts on Harper and Rowan, and then have Daniel Bryan be the leader of the group? And he can continue to contend for the world title. I would have much rather seen that. So I don't know why they refuse to do anything with Luke Harper or where he is and when we're going to see him again. I don't know. He might be involved with Bray Wyatt. Who knows? But Bryan and Rowan are now the tag team champions. Okay. Whatever, I guess. That was pretty much the only news coming out of SmackDown. Miz and Shane got into it a little bit. I think Miz was there as well. I like what Randy Orton is doing too with Ali. Randy has kind of been working with some younger guys and kind of, sort of just on the back burner, not taking up a spot or hogging the main events, which is kind of nice to see him working with guys like Ali and shit. So Randy Orton, a guy that's always so widely and has so been widely universally kind of loathed by the fans, much in the same way John Cena is. I've really never had those problems with Randy Orton, and I have absolutely zero issue with what he's doing on TV now. And I'm actually surprised that he didn't go over to Raw. I thought Randy Orton would move to Raw in the shakeup. But now with the wild card rule, I suppose he can. All right, so that's pretty much, that's going to knock it out for like my notes here. That's really all I wanted to talk about this weekend. Now I can kind of go into the chat here, see if there's anything I missed, anything you guys want to talk about. Haven't even checked on my audience. Wow, a few more people in here than I thought, nearly 200. Smash that thumbs up button if you don't mind. Click the notifications bell, and please subscribe if you have not yet already. You guys are really going to like what I've got planned for the channel this summer. I'm so excited. Changes are starting to happen slowly, internally. I'm taking my time with it, and you're going to start seeing a lot better quality content on my channel. I'm thrilled. Still working on that stuff. Yeah, and I mean, I'm not the only one either pissed off about Luke Harper. That whole thing is a mess. I don't even mind if Luke Harper stays. I just hope they do something with him. To refuse a release like that and then add time to his deal, that's shit, man. So if they're gonna keep him there, then use him, please. What the hell? Beetle 911. Did I talk about Big E banging Becky's mom? No, I talked about it, but I didn't talk about them banging. I just think that's a very fun-loving type of thing that's going on. I'm not sure what's going on there. It's kind of half weird, creepy, and hilarious all at the same time. But it's what we need. I mean, with everything going on right now, Big E to the rescue, right? Everybody says, who's your favorite wrestler? If there's one wrestler in the company that you'd like to hang out with or do something with, when I die, I will leave all of my possessions to Big E. He can have everything. I love him. Big E is my absolute favorite piece of talent on that roster, and in front of the camera, behind the scenes, he's great. Ben, good luck at front row seats for Money in the Bank. Right on. Here's what you need to do. Go to Walmart, get yourself a big old piece of poster board, and write GoodMicWork on that thing. Present it right on camera. I'll send you a cookie. What's the latest on Dean Ambrose or Jon Moxley, right? We're all pretty much in agreement that this is not a work and that he is leaving, right? Are there still people in the it's a work camp? I still feel like it's possible. I'm not going to automatically say, no, there's absolutely no way it's a work. You never know, man. Who knows? WWE could have some crazy ideas. And Dean Ambrose is the exact type of guy that would maybe want to try to pull off the biggest ruse in history. But judging by the way everything is going, I think he's going to be showing up somewhere else as Jon Moxley, and I think Double or Nothing would be an excellent place for him to show his face. I missed a super chat up here too from Devontae Adams. Thank you, man, very much. I appreciate that. Ruthless Aggression era coming again next year. I don't know, maybe. I don't know if you want to recreate an era necessarily, though. You know, like it's we definitely need to see some things changing, but I think even if it's like the name of the era is just the name of the era. How things are done internally is still like going to stay the same. You know, that's why I always said that TV 14 wouldn't change anything. Just if you have some stronger language, isn't going to change the fact that the storylines suck. It might help the promos a little bit, but the promos are still going to be scripted and micromanaged, and it's still going to be 50-50 booking, and it's still going to be copy and paste production, and it's still going to be everything else that we deal with. Now you can just say damn and hell in your promos, or whatever else they did in the Attitude Era. Dump shit on each other, you know, or beat up women. I don't think that would even help. So, you know, bringing back a Ruthless Aggression Era, fine, great, but you have to book things like you would in a Ruthless Aggression Era too. You know, you have to have better storylines, and you have to have just better interest in your product overall, you know, for any of that to work. So I think WWE needs to not refer back to the past, but just to keep moving with the evolution of wrestling, you know, and try to give fans what they want to see. And who knows what Fox is going to be demanding that they do. You know, Fox might say, hey, do this, do that. That's another thing that we didn't have to worry too much about. USA Network had their say in what WWE did, and they would get mad at WWE if they did something questionable or whatever. But, you know, now it feels like, you know, the networks are really going to start dictating a little bit more of how they do things. And to me, that's scary. There's enough people. There's enough fingers in the pie already. In WWE, you got 100 million writers there. Every single one of them with their heads square up their own asses. Now you're going to have network people telling them what to do too, most of which are going to be non-wrestling people. You know, All Elite Wrestling will deal with the same thing though, you know, in TNT. The ratings aren't there, you're canceled. I have got to take a look at what's going on for the next TakeOver show. What's the date? That date on that is in a couple of weeks, right? Early June. So that's not going to be attached to a pay-per-view or to Money in the Bank or anything, right? I'm kind of behind in the times there. Yeah, it's funny. The review that I'm going to be doing that I did for Joey that's going to hit the channel in a couple of days, there was a match in there where Eddie Guerrero and Chavo beat the hell out of a girl. And I'm like, huh, this ages well. So yeah, and that was and that's a Ruthless Aggression pay-per-view too that I'm reviewing. So, you know, that wasn't it. That just going back to those eras just isn't to me isn't going to be a problem solver. Much like you know, Roman Reigns going away isn't going to solve anything. You know, that's another thing fans say a lot. Roman Reigns, if he just wasn't there, I'm like, fine, take him away. He was gone for a few months, right, with the leukemia. Was shit better? Was shit 10 times better? Were we all saying to ourselves, finally, WWE is tolerable again? No, it was the same shit. The same shit with or without Roman. Same shit with or without Cena. Same shit with or without whoever you hate. You know, and eliminating somebody you hate doesn't fix the product. But there's so much damn hate in the wrestling community. That's all their fucking brains can do. It's all they can process. Worst year ever, 94, 95, 10, or 18? I'm going 95 and 10. I didn't like 2010. Last year was kind of fun. It wasn't horrible. I went to the Survivor Series. I had a good year. It was a good year for the channel. So I'll look back on 2018 relatively fondly. I did like WrestleMania from New Orleans. Thought that was a good show too. I don't know what we're going to look back on later. You know, because you notice the eras aren't labeled the eras until after the eras are over. So, like, I'm wondering what we look back and call this era. I think you might be right. Who said that? The Vince is insane era? Whoever said that in the chat. You might be right. Something like that for sure, right? Let me pull up the Money in the Bank card because I did say we need to preview that when I lost my notes on it. So let me just pull it up the old-fashioned way here. The good old WWE.com. There There we go. Money in the Bank. Let's see what they got. Let's see what they say about this fucking show. All right, here's the matches here. And I'm going to do a predictions video probably, let's see. Raw and SmackDown are taped this week from London. Definitely not going to talk much about those. So I would say like next Friday. I'm going to try to come up, or maybe even Thursday. Thursday or Friday. I'll figure that out. Thursday or Friday, mid to late afternoon, East Coast time. I will be up doing full predictions for Money in the Bank. But let's run through the card now as it stands. We've got Universal Champion Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles. Now, in the case of all the champions, Kofi, Seth, Becky, ratings are bad. Fan frustration is at an all-time high. Yet the belts are on people that everybody likes. Go figure, right? So how much of that does fall on their shoulders? Does WWE take a belt off of somebody here? Do they put the Universal title on AJ Styles right after Seth Rollins won it? I don't know what they do in this match. I think we're likely to see a title change, though, I would think. So that's a question I pose to you guys. What would you rather see? AJ, which title would you rather see change hands? Let me put it that way. Would you rather see the Universal title change hands or the WWE title? Would you rather have AJ win the Universal or Kevin Owens win the WWE? I think Kevin Owens might benefit more. AJ's already been on top. You know, Kevin Owens has had some stop and starts. Might be nice to get him back on the map, win a belt he's never won. He was Universal Champion, but not WWE Champion. So I might go Owens on this. But again, I would feel like there would be a hot potato type of issue with either one of these belts, regardless of if one of them changes hands. But considering how bad ratings are and how WWE generally panics, feels like that's something they would do. At least change one of their world titles, right? I don't know between those two. I'm probably going to say Kevin Owens just for the sake of his character. I think he needs the world title a little bit more than AJ. AJ and Seth can maybe have a barn burner and live to have a rematch, and maybe AJ wins the title then, or he doesn't at all. Becky Lynch also is defending the title twice, and I mentioned that in last week's episode, that if Becky Lynch is going to drop either match, I think it should be to Charlotte in order, calm down, don't panic, no aneurysms, no heart attacks, cardiac arrest, no fainting, no pooping yourself. I think the reason that's good, and the reason that's the way to go, is because it now separates Becky Lynch and Charlotte. You know, if you have Lacey Evans, who I'm sorry, I just feel it's way too early for her to win the title, right after you had this person win the belt in the main event. You have Becky beat Lacey Evans. They can still have a rematch later on. Have her beat Lacey Evans clean, Survivor, win a match like a champion should. Doesn't mean Lacey Evans is buried. Doesn't mean they dropped the ball on Lacey Evans. It means your fucking champion won a match. That's all. And then you have a weakened, or a not 100% Becky, go into that match with Charlotte. Charlotte wins the title, keeping Becky strong. You know, I know the fans will say, what, Charlotte again? Well, yeah. Put the belt on Charlotte. Now she's got it on SmackDown. SmackDown now has its own belt, and Raw has its own belt. But if you reverse that, and you have Lacey win the belt, and then you have Becky beat Charlotte, now you've got Becky and Charlotte back on fucking SmackDown again, and we have to go through all this shit again. You know, are you not? Am I the only one that's just ready for these two girls to be separated? Plus, you got an alpha on each show now. Charlotte's now the champion on SmackDown, which I know, you know, that just takes an umbrella up the wrestling fans' ass and opens it. I know it's very painful for everybody, but if you can just be patient, Charlotte being champion means that somebody now gets to beat Charlotte. You know, now somebody else gets to take the belt off of her and hopefully increase their stock in the company. And then you got Becky on Raw to continue her feud with Lacey Evans. Maybe she even eventually drops the belt to Lacey Evans. Or maybe she holds the belt till Ronda comes back. Because don't forget, she pinned Ronda at WrestleMania. Now with Becky on Raw, you got a rematch set up there. When and if Ronda even comes back. Who knows? But I just think that would be the better scenario. You know, unless you have Becky retain both belts, and then she continues to crisscross on both shows. But I think that's bad as well. I think that overexposes Becky. And I think that gives the fans too much Becky. So I know you hate the idea of Charlotte winning the title, but you have to understand logically that that is the best direction to go. I'm standing by this one. Because any other way you slice it, I don't think it's going to provide for good TV. So you might have to sacrifice the pain of Charlotte winning a belt just to ensure that things kind of stay a little bit more balanced on TV. You know, otherwise you got Becky and Charlotte back on Raw, or you got Becky on both shows. Those are our two options. Other than Charlotte just win the belts, split the girls up, and you're done. You know, Charlotte's SmackDown champ, Becky's Raw champ. You get out of that deal, because at some point, You can't have Becky walking around with these 2 belts. You know, it's just too much Becky. I think it made for a fun storyline at WrestleMania, and I thought it was the right call. Because if you only have 1 belt, if you're going to have the women main event WrestleMania for the first time ever, but only 1 of your 2 championships that are involved, by default, that automatically makes the other championship less important, in my mind. So I thought it was good that they found a way to get that belt in there. Of course, that meant Charlotte had to beat Asuka, which was a whole nother story. But the idea, separate from Charlotte and Asuka, forget Charlotte and Asuka don't even exist. They're not here. They died, okay? Forget about them. The idea of putting the SmackDown title in the main event along with the Raw title, I was behind 100%. But at the same time, you can't continue that forever. Becky cannot go a year being on both shows, defending the belts twice on pay-per-views. WWE knew they were creating the situation only to probably get out of it down the road. Perfect chance right here. You know, Charlotte doesn't even get to win the belt essentially clean. She's facing a woman who's already had a match. Assuming, of course, Becky and Lacey come first, which I think it will. I think Becky and Lacey comes first, then Charlotte and Becky. But if it happens any other way, I'm not sure if I'm going to like the result. If Lacey Evans wins the belt, you know, and then then Becky drops her belt to Charlotte, then maybe Becky can go back to Raw. She drops both belts right after winning them in the main event of WrestleMania. I wouldn't do that either. So for the purposes of this, because we can't change the match, you know what I mean? You can't not have Becky and Charlotte. I don't have that ability to change that match. So you have to go with what makes sense for the match that was given. That's why I say Charlotte winning the belt does make the most sense, no matter how much it upsets you inside of your little butthole. But we'll see, right? Super chat coming in. Ian Derbyshire, thank you, man, for the $5. The Becky Sasha feud has to happen soon. Yeah, what's going on with Sasha? Perfect opportunity for a crazy Sasha heel turn. Whiny, entitled, and full of self-pity. Instant heat, agree. Yes, I've been wanting to see Sasha Banks turn heel for a while. Fans don't really like her. We've heard stories about her kind of being a pain in the ass behind the scenes. Now she's mad. She's off of TV. She's kind of in this like Neville situation where she doesn't want to be there, but she's still under contract. If they do talk her into coming back, she can turn heel. I think Becky Bayley could also potentially turn heel. I would love to see Bayley win the Money in the Bank, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But Becky, why do I keep saying Becky? Bayley winning the Money in the Bank, babyface Bayley, aw shucks, got that briefcase, but when she cashes it in, she goes heel. Cashes in on a babyface. You know, she's been losing a lot on TV. She's probably frustrated too. If you don't do the Sasha heel turn, I think you can do it with Bayley. Either one. I'd be perfectly fine with it. We also have Roman Reigns taking on Elias. We know what's going to happen there. Roman Reigns is going to beat him. Shane McMahon, I don't know, will be lurking around or not because we have a cage match between him and The Miz. So I don't know if Shane will play a role in Elias and Roman. Probably not. I think Miz gets his win back in the steel cage match. Like I said earlier, I've got Becky Lynch beating Lacey Evans. I have her losing to Charlotte. Samoa Joe and Rey Mysterio could be interesting. I thought they were going to involve Dominic and have Samoa Joe beat the shit out of Dominic. But we saw on Monday night, Joe approached Dominic but didn't touch him. So maybe because of this PG rating, you can't beat the hell out of a minor. Or I don't even know if he is a minor. Isn't Dominic of 18? I don't know how old Dominic is. But they didn't have Joe kick his ass, which makes me worried that he won't kick his ass at all. I thought Joe would beat up Dominic and then Ray would win the title as revenge or something like that. But for the purposes of this match, I don't care who wins. But if it was up to me, might keep the belt on Joe. Cruiserweight title, Tony Nese taking on Daivari. Didn't even know that match was booked. I'll probably keep it on Nese there since he just won it. And then we have the men's and the women's Money in the Bank. Women's Money in the Bank, I mentioned Bayley being a really good possibility to win the Money in the Bank because I think you could do something fun with her, like have her turn heel. You know, you could have Alexa win it again, but she already did. You could have Carmella win it again, but she already did. Ember Moon might be fun. But I think Bayley, if you do a swerve, Bayley winning the Money in the Bank and not turning heel would be boring as shit. But Bayley winning the Money in the Bank and turning heel when she cashed it in, I think could be fun and has potential. So, especially if she cashes it in on Charlotte or something. That would be fun as well. Oh, Dominic is 24? Okay. How old was he in 2005 during that ladder match? He looked like he was 8 years old, and that was what? Oh, yeah, I guess he would be older. Yeah, I just thought he was like young, and so maybe they didn't have Joe beat him up because of backlash or something. But all right, he's 24. He looks like a kid. Most funny restaurant story you have? I thought that'll be for a live stream one night. This is an episode. We're talking wrestling, rarely even. But on one of my random live streams where I'm just chatting and shooting the shit, I'll get into some wrestling stories. But as far as the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, I maybe go with Becky if you could do a heel turn. Otherwise, if you want to keep it on a babyface, keep saying Becky. Go Bayley if you want to do a heel turn. But if you're going to keep her babyface, I wouldn't do it. And if you are going to put the Money in the Bank briefcase with a babyface, I do Ember Moon. Men's Money in the Bank, I'm kind of thinking McIntyre would be fun. Andrade would be another option. I'm trying to go heel here with the men's Money in the Bank. I always want to go heel on the Money in the Banks. I just think they're much more fun. Who the fuck else is in this? You know, Finn Balor would be awesome, but I don't want to see him win it. I don't want to see Ricochet win it. I think they'd be boring. Briefcase holder. Braun Strowman, we've already seen, and he pissed his away. Corbin, we've already seen. He pissed his away. Mustafa Ali, again, just like Ricochet, you know, no, I don't want to see him with the babyface or with the briefcase. Randy Orton could always be fun as well. So I think Randy Orton, even though we don't want to see that either because he's held the briefcase I don't know how many times, 3 maybe. Drew McIntyre and Andrade. Of the 8 men, and I have to pick 3, Orton, McIntyre, Andrade. One of those 3 guys. And I think McIntyre of the 3 would be my pick. I think he would be more fun. I'm ready to see this guy get on the map. I don't want to see them make the same mistakes with Drew that they did with Braun. You know, why Braun Strowman never won the Universal title still blows my mind. And we've gotten to the point now where I don't even give a shit about the guy anymore. You know, last 2 WrestleManias, he's working with an 8-year-old and SNL guys. This is a guy that I thought would be the next big thing, literally. You know, he was just a beast, and he was getting over, destroying everything in sight, and the fans dug it. Cannot believe he never held that red belt. You know, and I don't even care about the Saudi Arabia match. That's not even what made me mad. You know, Brock Lesnar winning the belt back there, I thought was okay, because I knew that meant he was going to drop it at WrestleMania. So I was fine with that decision in and of itself, but it's everything else they did with Braun that I hated, and I thought he should have won the Universal title long before then and just been a monster and a badass. But he never did, and now I don't think he ever will, and I don't think he needs to win the briefcase here. So fuck out of here, Braun Strowman. So I'm going to go Drew. I'm going to go Drew with the men. Yeah, and then with the women, like I said, Ember Moon would be fun. Bayley would be fun if you did a heel turn. Mandy Rose is an option because she's kind of on the rise. I think they like her. Alexa Bliss, you know, she won it last year and cashed it in. I don't see them doing that. And I also think with both the men's and the women's match this year that neither one cash in the same night. I don't think we're going to see that 2 years in a row. I think both briefcases should be held on to. And with this bullshit wild card rule, can the briefcase holders start moving around? And I think that's very likely. And now it's going to add more potential for surprises if you play in this wild card rule with the briefcase holder. And let's say SmackDown girl wins the briefcase, you know, and then she just randomly shows up on Raw and wins the Raw title from Becky Lynch. You know, that would be fun. And you can do the same thing with the men. If you want to move somebody over or do something crazy, you know, have a SmackDown guy win the briefcase and jump to Raw, beat Seth, or Raw guy. Maybe McIntyre wins the briefcase and then beats the shit and kills Kofi Kingston, wins the title. But you know what that means. Now he's on SmackDown with Roman Reigns, and he's champion. You might as well just give that belt to Roman Reigns. And another thing I want to see, like to my point about Charlotte beating Becky Lynch and how I think that's the best option to do, it's also probably the best option to do that right now before Roman Reigns inevitably finds his way back to a world title on SmackDown. Because the one thing we don't want as fans is for Charlotte and Roman Reigns to be champs at the same time on the same show. Sensory overload for the fans. You know, their brains are going to explode. So put the belt on Charlotte now for the purposes of getting it back over to SmackDown, and then have her drop it to somebody else, and then Roman can sneak in the back door and wind up beating Kevin Owens or whoever for the for the WWE title. Which belt's on SmackDown? And on top of that, the wild card rule also doesn't rule out champions, obviously, jumping shows either. And we did see a WWE title match on Monday Night Raw this past week, so I think it's only a matter of time before we see a Universal title match on SmackDown, and the next thing you know, the wild card rule is basically going to be put in place to make the brand split obsolete, you know, and completely worthless and pointless. Now that the shows don't have their own belts can be defended on either show. We're back to where we were in 2012. We had a World Heavyweight title and a WWE title, both defended on Raw sometimes. So we're back to that. We're back to that. Braun is a fraud. Braun, it looks awesome. Anything that's wrong with Braun, you got to blame WWE for. He has everything. He's charismatic, he's funny, he's big, he's strong, he's believable, he's angry, he's a monster, he's every single thing you would want in a professional wrestler. Man, Braun. Couldn't imagine him in 1986 feuding with Hogan. Physically, I think Braun's more impressive than Big John Studd, you know, and a lot of guys from that era. It's a shame what happened to him. But I agree, he is slowly morphing into the Big Show, and they're starting to use him much the same way. Being involved in weird matches at WrestleMania is one of them. Turning heel and babyface more often than the rest of his pee is also something that the Big Show does. And, I don't know. Bring back jobbers. Unfortunately, we can't do that anymore. It's kind of not the way the business is structured. 3 hours of jobber matches on Raw? No way. Back in the day, that's all you saw. All the superstars, a wrestling challenge, all that stuff was, every single match was a jobber match. Every now and then you'd get a feature match, but not often. Oh yeah, Hogan would definitely destroy Braun. Yeah, in 86, just like he destroyed everybody. But I think the matches would be better. Man, watch your mouth there, Norab. Norab wants Baron Corbin to win. And hey, I understand Baron Corbin's a pretty good heel, but and I mentioned this last week that, you know, there's a difference. Even though Baron Corbin, I think, does do a good job, and I think he has improved in a lot of ways. I think he's very good and comfortable on the mic, and he's very easy to hate. And I'm sure he's working hard behind the scenes. You know, probably has a great attitude, which is why he's getting the spot on TV. But there's also a difference, I think, between the type of heels that fans want to pay money to see get their ass kicked, and the type of heels that fans just don't want to pay money to see at all. Just don't want to see him on their TV ever. So, and Baron Corbin falls into that category because I don't give two shits about the guy. I don't like his face. I don't like his outfit. I don't like his voice. Don't like anything about him. But he's knows what he's doing out there. It's just a character that's just so awful and boring, and the fans just are so ridiculously turned off by him. We just don't want to see. And every time he's involved in anything major, you know, the ratings go down. You don't want to put the belt on that guy. That is not what you want. But they probably will. I mean, I do think, based on his spot on the card, that Baron Corbin will probably taste gold, world title gold one day, maybe even this year, which will be horrible. Yeah, who said it there? Especially if he beats Kofi, right? Holy shit. Oh my God. And he did pin the Universal Champion this past week on Monday Night Raw, right? AJ and Seth had the tag team match. Very creative. So creative, WWE. I got an idea. Two babyfaces have a match at the pay-per-view. Let's put them in a tag team. Nobody's ever done that before. As my cat, did you just burp? Did you just totally burp? Yeah, I think they heard it too. What'd you eat, buddy? I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Fool tastes gold this year, and that's gonna suck for everybody. Suck for everybody. Yeah, Corbin has X-Pac heat, except he never shit in anybody's bag to get it. He just has it. Fans just hate him. Hate him. And I would go back to like the biker. He's got to change something. That outfit is horrendous. How can he wrestle in that? And how can WWE want him to? I understood why he wore it when he was like Constable Corbin or whatever, but that's over now. Now he's still out there looking like he works at the fucking Cheesecake Factory. Oh yeah, I mean, if you want to keep the pants on, fine. Just wear one of your, remember what he used to wear when he had that horrible long hair? Just the shirt with the sleeves cut off. Just wear that. At least you can move in that. A little fucking vest. Oh my God. And I do think he's an option to win Money in the Bank because he's a heel, and I always said Money in the Bank is better with heels. So if Corbin wins the briefcase, cashes in on Kofi, that could be some epic heat. But again, I don't think it's going to just piss the fans off, especially if they do it in the same night. You know, let's prolong these two briefcases this time. You know, it's been a couple of years now. We've had them cashed in on the same night. Alexa Bliss did it last year. Dean Ambrose did it a couple of years before. I don't know if they did it the year before that. I don't remember. But we don't need to see that this year. I'm perfectly fine with them hanging onto the briefcase. I think one person maybe cashes it in at SummerSlam. The other one cashes it in next year. Maybe at the Royal Rumble or even WrestleMania. I want to see that briefcase be on TV for a while. Teasing us. Sell more merchandise of the Constable. What are they doing? Selling a vest at the shop? At WWE shop? Or at the merchandise stands at the live events? They got a little vest and a collared shirt. You can look like Baron Corbin. Here's a razor blade to shave your fucking head. What kind of merchandise can they possibly capitalize on for this bag of ass? Man, he needs to go back to wearing something a little more normal. Kane did the same shit. Out there looking like a Staples manager a few years ago. That's a loaded question. Why they got rid of managers? It's a loaded question, combination of a lot of things. I don't know if we will ever be able to see the type of managers we saw in the '80s again. Not sure if there's really a place for them in the modern product, but I think there's a place for managers somewhere, and occasional managers and some people. You know, we had like Leo Rush and guys like that. I think that's going to turn into be like the new type of manager, and I'm fine with seeing a few more of them around. But for the most part, when you have them, guys like Drake Maverick is another example. They're pretty meaningless, you know, aside from being a mouthpiece for somebody. They don't have the same magic that Bobby and Jimmy Hart and Fuji had and guys like that. And what's the deal with the Saudi Arabia show as well, by the way? Goldberg is appearing on the show, so is The Undertaker. Do we have matches announced for those guys yet? They're not working with each other, are they? I hope not. And what the hell's Brock Lesnar going to do? All right, we are at the top of the hour here. All right, I'm about 2 hours in. I've got to get out of here because I have to go to work. But you know what? I'd like to stick around until you guys can hook me up with 100 likes. Can you hit me up with a few more? 25 of you, click that little thumbs up for me. And I'm going to get out of here in just a few minutes, but I do want to answer a couple of questions first. Yeah, and Paul Heyman. Another good example there. Paul Heyman. Sands of Time. Is that what they're naming the Saudi Arabia show, right? Oh, my God. Yeah, like I said, this year, I'm not going to pay any attention to either one. I did kind of review the show last year, but I remember watching it half asleep, and I think I even gave Undertaker and Shawn Michaels like a lot more credit than they deserved. I was like, Shawn handled himself okay. Then you go back and watch the match. It's probably one of the worst matches I've ever seen. So I'm sick of waking up early and watching a horrible pay-per-view that I don't give a shit about, and it's controversial. So I am completely ignoring Saudi Arabia, sweet Saudi money. It's a good way to name it because that's pretty much what it is. Horrible, terrible. Not watching it. Don't care. Don't care what Brock does, what Goldberg does, what Taker does. Don't care what any of them do. I'm going to completely ignore it to this time around. Prince of Persia. Yeah, Prince of Persia. And Goldberg and Roman Reigns, holy shit. I don't know if Roman's making the trip. I think he is. I think a lot of people are. Oh, well, thanks for the little hike and likes there, but I still have to get out of here because I got to get ready to go to work. So thank you very much for hanging out. Again, I'm sorry for being up here only for live streams right now, but like I said, working on a lot of things behind the scenes. I'll have a new retro pay-per-view review up on the channel in just a couple of days. I will be live this Monday reacting to Monday Night Raw, which will be a tape show from London. So I'll read the spoilers, but I'll try not to spoil any of you during the live stream, and we'll watch that shit together and see if this Raw is any better. It's pretty uncommon to have an overseas Raw serve as your go-home show. So that'll be fun. And then later on next week, probably on Thursday, Friday at the latest, I'll come up and do full Money in the Bank card predictions, and we'll talk all about the storyline. So thanks for hanging out. Again, I appreciate it, guys. Y'all be good. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll catch you on Monday night. Till then, peace.